All right, hey everybody, TG here. Let's looks like we got everything up and running, and today kind of feels like, well, Liberation Day, right? That's what Trump has been calling it, and it's the whole tariff day, and the markets are rallying. How amazing is that? So it has been one thing that we've kind of been looking at. We've been trying to say, hey, we think that this might actually end up being bullish, partly because it's all priced in, and I've also been saying that probably anything less than expectations is going to be good. So as long as he doesn't come out and say something that even worse or more, or we're going to double down or something like that, I think if there's any kind of wiggle room or any sign of progress, then the market's going to be okay with this because they kind of already factored this in, they priced it in, and they were expecting some pretty rough bad stuff out there, and basically the market's gone down 10%, and then we had a pretty sharp pullback in through here over the last week and a half, maybe a week and a half, and we actually undercut the prior low. And so, what are we, almost like 11, close to 11% down from the overall top, roughly like that. Yeah, close to 11%. And that just kind of feels also like a good technical area to start seeing some stuff. We're also starting to see some divergences, positive divergences. The Moxie indicator, we're looking here. We have a trampoline move. I'm almost ready to call this official, but of course, anything can happen with Trump speaking later today. But really, from kind of a technical standpoint, it's looking like the market is having a hard time getting lower, and I think that is what is getting this thing to work the way that it's working. So yeah, those of you out there on those social medias, good to see you. YouTube, Facebook, X, all that kind of stuff. I do have the chat open, so if you guys have any questions or anything you're looking at, let me know, because this market, as far as swing trading individual stocks, has been a lot of patience. Really, just kind of wait for your setup and all that kind of stuff. I'll show you what we've been trading. And then also, so that you guys know, I am doing another webinar today. I did one last week, last Wednesday. We're going to do one this Wednesday. It's going to be at 1 o'clock Central. So this is going to be a little bit different. Usually we do these things in the evening. This time we're actually going to be doing it 2 hours before the market closes, to see if maybe more people, it's a little bit easier for you, since hey, most of us are here with the stock market anyway. We enjoy it. Maybe you're at work and you're just going to turn your screen over to this. Who knows? But figured we do that. Come over here, simplertrading.com/duel. This one is going to be a little bit more focused on zero DTE and what we've been doing with that, with the Moxie indicator and all that. Cool. So yeah, this has been working out pretty well. And those of you in the Moxie room, you guys know that I've been talking about this 15-minute time frame with the 15-minute 50. So that has been working out very, very nicely so far. It was a little touch and go this morning. I was, we opened with a gap down. I'm like, okay, well, is this going to work or what? And you can see here, open with a gap down, and it immediately got bought back up, and then now to the upper end of the range. And if we look at the hourly chart, you guys can now see the L shoe that we had been talking about. And yesterday we took a very fast call credit spread trade right here. We made 60% in about 20 minutes. And part of that is because I said, hey, on the hourly chart, this is going to be the arch of the foot. And that's exactly what that was. So with the pullback that we got yesterday and even this morning, I'm going to call that the ball of the foot. And now we're working on the elf toe, which is the part that I like the most, because that's where we make money. All right, so we've got all this. And if, again, this is all kind of dependent on what Trump says. As long as, again, this is my opinion, but as long as he just doesn't rock the market or say like, okay, we're going to do more or double it down or all this kind of stuff, then I think that the market has priced in everything here. And they're like, okay, we already know all this stuff. It's been factored in. It's no worse than expectations. Maybe it's a little bit better than expectations. And at least from a technical standpoint, maybe we can get a bit of a relief rally. Also the fact that the put call ratio spiked over 1 on Monday, and we got the gap down, which was also an undercut, and then we've rallied. These are at least, I'm not going to call them necessarily bullish, but at least they are less bearish, and maybe we can start getting some sort of move to the upside, and then we'll kind of go from there. So what I've been talking about for weeks is I'm wondering if we can eventually get back up to the daily 50. over the course of time. And what we're looking for is, now that we've got this double bottom, can we get past the hourly 50? Can we start to come up, and can we get up to the daily 50? Now, remember, I have to be very, very clear out there, because, people saying, oh, the daily 50, and they're looking at daily 50 being at 5,900. They're like, oh, you think it's going to 5,900? I'm saying I'm going to the daily 50. That is a moving target. So however long this takes to get up there, the 50 might be down. Who knows? The daily 50 might come down to, say, 5,800 by the time they meet. And that might be reasonable, because you can see, well, if I draw that a little better, you can see about maybe 5,800 is kind of the top of this range. And so maybe that works. We don't know. It's a moving target. That's kind of what I'm talking about. And that's what we want to see in through here. Okay. So that's everything I'm seeing here. I just also want to reinforce that if this continues to work to the upside, this is going to be an official trampoline move on the hourly chart. We've been talking about this for a few days. I've had to cover my tail and say it's been a potential one, but if this continues moving this way, then it's going to turn into an official one. If Trump decides to rock the market and says something worse and the market reacts poorly, then we need to watch out for the hourly 50 as resistance. Okay, because this is still a potential. This could be, this could fail. Here's your double bottom. You bounce up into resistance. You can't quite get past, and then you roll over and you break the lows. Okay, so that is if we go to the downside. So I've given you the path of what we're looking for the upside, and I've given you the path if we start to fail to the downside. Okay. How about Tesla? I believe there was news. Trader B, if you're out there, I think there was news on top of your news. And same with Dave. Let's see, what'd you put out? Because I know, David, you put out, yeah, they had Tesla reports deliveries today. It was 336,000, which was 13% drop from a year ago. Okay. And maybe that is why this thing gapped down. But now look at this thing. It is rallying. My understanding, I saw some news that kind of flashed out there. I'm going to need you guys to double check me on this, because right before I went on, I tried looking at it. I couldn't quite find the information, but it said something about Elon is going to be stepping back from his governing roles. Now, I didn't know if that meant governing like political and Doge, or if it meant governing as in he's stepping away from running Tesla as closely. Again, I don't know the information yet. I need to look into it and actually confirm, but clearly it seems something's going on with Tesla as far as this move up. Now, this is fun because we are in Tesla. We're in TSLL. We have been in Tesla since way back here. We took half off right here. We were expecting a pullback, which we got. And now we want to see if this pullback continues to go higher, which it looks like it should. This is what we've been talking about for the last few days. And I want to see if we can get up to the daily 50, the same kind of target that I have for the S&P. We'll see if that happens. The other thing that we've been looking for, and again, this is the Moxie thing. This is what I talk about. This is what we're going to be talking about in the webinar today. This is what the classes that I teach is stuff like this. This is a trampoline move. Price below the 50, Moxie indicator above 0. This, at Lulu, if you're out there in the Moxie room, you love the trampoline moves and you're one of the new subscribers here. And so I love your energy about this, but that's the whole point, is that if a trampoline move works out, it gives you kind of that confidence to understand that, oh, this is a dip. It's a viable dip when it works out. And that was one of the major things that helped me when I was starting to develop the Moxie indicator and come across this and work on it and have it actually teach me what I needed to know about this indicator. It really helped me understand, oh, okay, I don't need to panic out of some of these things. Oh, okay, this down move might actually be bullish because look, the Moxie indicator is so far above 0. Energy and momentum is still positive. Don't panic out, don't short it, and actually be patient and wait for the signal for it to turn around. Then you can add into it or buy it in the first place, and it should work out to the upside. So that's what we've been seeing. I've been a lot of those. And then of course, the magical pattern that I love, the elf shoe. And you can see that developing on the daily chart as well. So far, this is all looking pretty good. I'm encouraged by the energy that Tesla has as one of the potential leaders of this recovery that we're seeing with the market. And then we kind of go from there. Some of the other areas that I've been looking at, SMH. I was a little early on my first entry on this one, but we have been discussing in through here, and we're starting to see SMH recover on the 15-minute time frame. You kind of see that's the first thing. And then for those of you in the Moxie room, you guys know I always talk about off the 8, back to the 8, and I'm noticing that there's a pretty big gap here on the daily chart. So this might be another indication that the market is pretty stretched and oversold to the downside. And, if for nothing else, lack of bad news and the market's just trying to get on with themselves and, fix their technical situations, we could be seeing some sort of relief rally. That is what I've been looking for. We've kind of generally been planning for it. We've been having to be patient with some of these things because, of course, leading up to this week, the market pulled back again. And that's where we're just kind of like, okay, when is this thing going to recover? As I said, so far, Tesla's been doing well. We've kind of been watching SMH. And then a handful of the tickers that I've been trading and looking at, some of them we've been having to be patient with, and others it's like we've cashed in like what 18% and 29% gains, and then we've left a little bit as a flyer to see where they go, and that's what I'm just waiting for this market to turn around. And so far, it seems like these things are starting to gingerly work. Like you look at SMH, no, we don't have a trampoline move, but we do have divergence. So they're starting to show up in these kind of different packages, but they're expressing the same general concept and sentiment. Same thing with FNGA. I'm looking in through here. You guys can see we even, I think it was yesterday I discussed this. It's like, okay, if we get a bullish bounce, like what I'm hoping we get, then maybe that's going to be the target for FNGA. Okay. And this one did get a little bit lower. You can see it did an undercut, but check this out. We actually do have a trampoline move. I want to still say it's potential, but this is actually starting to work out. The fact that we are now getting a green Moxie price trigger on our price bar on the hourly chart is good. And I want to see price continue to follow the 15-minute 50. Now, this could all change. Remember, if this market really decides to flip a gasket again, this could just be an oversold. So, oversold bounce into resistance, and we could go lower. These are the things that I'm looking for and that we were watching to see if this is going to continue to the upside or if this is just a bounce and a downtrend. Okay, so we're just going to have to look at these possibilities and paths and things for where they might go. Other than that, again, let me know if you guys have any questions. I know everybody's probably holding their breath for Trump's speech later today with the whole tariff situation. But again, it kind of feels like a lot of this has been factored in, baked in. And if we look over here, let's kind of take a look. I mean, even stuff like FNGA, I mean, these things have really, really gotten wrecked. And so what I'm looking for is just an opportunity for them to start working their way back up. And perhaps if we can just kind of get past the hurdle of whatever today or, this afternoon, this evening is about Trump and the speech, maybe he can give us a little bit more guidance and we can see if the market cares, doesn't care, actually reads it as slightly positive, because I look at things like this and this looks awfully stretched to the downside for me. And I would love to see them start to come back up here. In fact, if we zoom in, I actually haven't looked at this on the weekly chart from when I put the X on it. And on the weekly chart for a move back up, I could see price coming back to the weekly 21 because look, it's already come to the weekly 8. And if we do actually get a pretty healthy move to the upside, then we could go to the 21. And remember, that's a moving target, okay? Because it's a moving average. And so what I'm wondering, if you guys can kind of put your flashlights on and look a little bit out into the future, I'm wondering if the weekly 21 is actually going to end up where that X is. And maybe that is where price is going to end up going if we do get a pretty healthy turnaround to the upside. So again, that's all kind of hopes and dreams and curiosities and fingers crossed, and we'll see if it starts to work out. It could certainly still be noisy as it hammers out a low, but that's kind of what I'm wondering is an ultimate upside target. So I've got all these ideas. We'll see if they actually manifest. And remember, if they don't, then we're prepared that price could be bouncing in a downtrend, run into resistance, and we could get some more downside. So just caution on that. Let's see, if we look at the UVIX, this is another thing that I look at. And those of you in the Moxie room or anybody who studies the Moxie indicator and my principles and the setups and charts that I talk about, you guys might notice this gap here between price and the hourly 50. And we were getting a Moxie price trigger today, but I think that this thing might actually stay below zero. So what is that? Well, that's what I call an inverse trampoline move. Again, this is what I'm going to be discussing. I've been taking screenshots because the class is Saturday, and some of these brand new setups are happening right now that if they start to pan out the way that I think they're going to pan out, then I'm going to be capturing this information for like really current, fresh data and examples for the class of like real time. Here's how we trade this stuff, and here's how we use the Moxie method and principles to work with this stuff. So I'm looking at that, and gosh, I really hope over the next couple days it gives me enough material to be able to put it in the classroom, because I think that would be awesome to just have such fresh material for that. Okay, so that's kind of what I'm looking at over there. And then, of course, everyone has been discussing gold. We know gold has been just absolutely through the roof. And just from a counter, I don't know, counter trend or counterintuitive or something like that, as I said, we know gold is getting pretty frothy up here. I'm just going to point out that anytime it gets outside of the third ATR on the weekly, that does tend to be a near-term top. Okay, no, I'm not saying the top, but you can see that it kind of spurts and then rests, and then it spurts and then it rests. And we have just now had the most recent kind of spurt right up there into what's going to be potentially resistance up there. So I think we need to be aware of that and careful of that. If you trade gold, maybe you want to take some profits, or maybe you just don't want to initiate some new long trades up there because, well, it's a little risky up there, because you can see here just up, up, up each time, and it tends to run into some resistance. And then possibly, and again, I like to kind of put all these narratives together. If I happen to be correct about the market bottoming here and starting to move up, then the idea of gold as a flight to safety for this moment might start to fall apart or change. So just be aware that if the market holds and can actually start to recover a little bit, then maybe people are going to rotate their money, because remember, rotating around the market. And if they start taking some cash, some profits away from gold, because gold has been up and it's getting extended, if they start taking money from there and they put it back into equities, or at least the S&P kind of stuff, then we could see that rotation, and then gold might come down a little bit. Again, I'm not saying that gold's topping. I'm saying that it's reached an extension to where it might rest. It might pull back, it might rest, something like that. So it seems a little bit on the riskier side to want to keep pushing this up here. That being said, GDX has me kind of wondering if we're going to be starting to see a bigger pullback in GDX. Now, we traded GDXU, so the leverage ETF of GDX, and we got in here and we took half off here. I mean, again, some pretty good trades as far as getting the right move to the upside and also exiting on the upside. And this is all based on the Moxie method, which is what I teach in the class and what I teach in the room. We can also see, come over here, same kind of deal, GDX and gold kind of hitting this upper extension. So that's another reason that I'm like, this might want to pull back a little bit more. So we already, if I show you GDXU, we had, I think, a 29% gain. So right there, 29% gain. I might actually want to just exit the rest of it entirely, because I have a feeling there's going to be a pretty healthy pullback on this. And GDX tends to be kind of crazy when it comes to pullbacks. I don't know if you guys noticed, but I mean, first of all, look at these crazy pullbacks. That was a really big pullback right through there. It likes to really pull back hard. And so given this kind of market and things move quickly, I'm probably going to be inclined to take the rest of our gains off that at probably 28% gain and see if we just get a pullback. I don't always like to just ride out pullbacks, because I feel like I'm more nimble than that. Okay. And a lot of times, if we look at something like Root, sometimes they burn me. Now, Root, we haven't gotten stopped out. I'm really banking on the market starting to find some support. I'm a little surprised that Root hasn't turned at all, but it is down here to the daily 50. And this is kind of why I don't like to ride out pullbacks, because sometimes you just don't know where they're going to go and you don't know how far they're going to go. And so I'm right at a point where it's like, okay, this thing needs to start holding and we need to see this thing start to move back up. Okay, so we're just a little bit underwater on this one. We were doing great. I missed my opportunity to get out of this. But yeah, same thing. I mean, look at that. Up at the upper extensions, kind of jumped up here. Again, I didn't think this thing was going to turn tail quite as hard as it did. And that's why I'm saying, like, with GDX and GDXU, it's like, I don't know if I really want to hang through a pullback. because yeah, you get stuff like this. So yeah, root pretty close. I really want to see this thing start to turn back up. I'm seeing I'm almost seeing indications on the 15-minute time frame, but we're really going to have to see this thing start to get up and over and through here, and it's just not happening yet. Even though I'm seeing a lot of other stocks and tickers recover on their 15 minutes, so I don't know if there's something more specific that's going on with Root, but it is the one, basically the only thing that's really giving me a headache and through here and such. I just want to see if it's going to start turning around. Some of the other ones that I'm looking at is Reddit. And this thing has been really, really hammering out a low. I've talked about it a few times, but we haven't taken any kind of trade. And if I'm right about the market starting to turn up, this seems like maybe this thing is oversold enough, and maybe it's at some major support level to where we could actually get a pretty healthy move to the upside. And part of the reason I say this is not only that we had the double bottom with positive divergence here, we now have price below the 50 and the Moxie indicator above zero. Yet again, another trampoline move. So same thing that we're seeing with the indices and a lot of other stocks are these trampoline moves. And I want to see if we can actually, if they're going to work. And if they work to the upside, then we could do pretty well with this. So I'm laying low until we get the report or, hear Trump speak, and then we'll kind of see how the market reacts. And, if the market's going to continue going up, I think we're going to have time. It's not like this thing is going to be a one-day pop and then we've missed it. No, I think that there's going to be plenty of opportunity that if I'm ultimately right and price does come up to anywhere around here, it's going to take a few days, and there should be an area and opportunity that we can jump in on these kind of trades. So that's why I'm just being like, you know what, I don't need to really risk everything going into this, but I do have a bullish bias, and all I'm looking for is that to confirm at some point, and it's probably going to be tonight. Okay. So again, for those of you out there, I know we got a bunch of people who have logged in on the social medias, a lot of eyeballs over there since I started this morning. We're changing up. We're doing a second webinar today for the Moxie indicator, Moxie method, and I'm going to be talking more about zero DT and our trades here. We had two good trades yesterday and Monday. I missed one this morning. The market just continued running right up. I was a little surprised at just how quickly the market bought that gap, but that's good. I think we're looking at good news there. So we'll see if that continues to pan out. But come over here, check it out. It's free. We also have access to the room if you guys are interested. And then I'll be teaching a 3-part class. Basically, we have all 3 classes put together. We're going to do it over the course of 3 days for the price of one, and that starts this Saturday. So I'm sure you guys have been seeing plenty of this advertising. So I just want to make sure that you guys get the opportunity to come in. And this one we're doing a little bit differently. Remember, we're doing this at 1 p.m. Central. So yeah, we're going to be doing this during the market. As I think the market's probably going to be a little bit calm this afternoon because everyone's going to be waiting for Trump to be speaking this afternoon. Okay, guys? Well, thanks again for tuning in. Those of you in the Moxie room, I will see you guys for the webinar as well. And anybody who wants to tune into it, I'll see you in a couple hours. Thanks, guys. Take care.